Now, it was one of the longest workers' strikes in history. For nearly 18 months, machine makers at a factory in Stockport took on the company's American owners.
In 1967, 30,000 engineering workers elsewhere in the northwest walked out in support, and there were violent scenes as thousands joined the picket line. 50 years on, Stuart Flinders has been talking to some of those who were there.
1967. Harold Wilson was Prime Minister. Jimi Hendrix burned his guitar. And if there was a summer of love going on somewhere, it wasn't in Stockport. Roberts Arundel, a textile machinery factory in Chestergate, was at the centre of a bitter dispute. Betty Ridgway's husband, Deborah's father, was one of the strikers. Malcolm Hopwood was on the strike committee. The site's changed hands. The memories are as strong as ever.
I'd just come out of my apprenticeship.
And you just got married as well, and suddenly you're in the middle of a big strike.
That was horrendous then, of course, because I'd also signed up for my first house.
They were very violent. The police were really violent with them.
The factory had been bought by an American firm determined to modernise, but with little time for local union agreements. When 150 workers went on strike, they were sacked.
They have been set a plan to break trade unionism in that firm. The Northwest is the most strong area in the country, and they broke it here, they broke it for the whole country.
There were sympathy strikes across the country, and those defying the picket line were given a hard time.
If you can imagine, this area here was absolutely like probably Old Trafford. You know, you couldn't see for heads. Fists would fly, helmets would fly.
In my opinion, I think we should make it absolutely clear to everybody that we depreciate and deplore the interference of the police in an industrial dispute to the extent that they're carrying it to now.
Bricks flew, the windows got put in the factory. There were times when the police attacked the pickets. 3 pickets actually received over £2,000 worth of compensation from the police for the injuries they sustained in the police station after being arrested.
There goes my only possession. A levy on engineering union members across the country meant strikers continued to have an income while the dispute lasted. But the American owner, Robert Pomerantz, wasn't forgiving in either. In the end, after nearly 18 months of strike action, Robert Pomerantz simply shut the factory down. The dispute had cost his company about £1 million and cost his workers their jobs.
It was a victory for the men on strike, but the factory closed down. So, you know, whose victory was it? It wasn't really a victory because everyone lost their jobs.
This was a time of more or less full employment, so that though the factory closed, it wasn't the case that people stayed out of work as a result. What it meant was that Stockport remained a union town, and for me, that's the victory.
Stuart Flinders, BBC Northwest Tonight, Stockport. Fascinating look back.
Really is. Now, 2 teachers from the Channel 4 series Educating Greater Manchester